When Sigma males step back and let people reveal themselves, it isn't passivity, it's strategy.
They've learned that truth doesn't come from questions, arguments, or confrontation.
It comes from observation.
When a Sigma stays quiet, people stop performing and start showing their real motives, loyalties, insecurities, and intentions.
He doesn't interfere, doesn't correct, doesn't guide. He simply watches. And in that silence, masks fall.
The unreliable expose their patterns.
The selfish reveal their priorities. The loyal prove themselves without being asked. A Sigma trusts time more than words, and time always exposes what people work so hard to hide. This is why he rarely rushes into judgment or action. He knows that everyone eventually teaches him exactly who they are. He just has to give them enough space. By not reacting, he learns everything. By not confronting, he sees deeper than most people ever will. And by allowing others to unfold naturally, he protects his energy while gaining absolute clarity about who deserves access to his world and who doesn't. His silence becomes a filter, and his patience becomes a weapon. If you've ever sensed that someone's true colors appeared only when you stepped back, you already understand this. Let me ask you, what did someone reveal to you once you stopped trying to understand them and simply watched? Comment "reveal" if you've seen this happen in your own life, and subscribe to Silent Wise for more deep insights into Sigma psychology. He stays silent because people expose their true character when they aren't being guided or challenged. A Sigma male learned long ago that silence is not emptiness, it is revelation. When he stops speaking, stops prompting, stops giving subtle cues that help people navigate social interactions, something powerful happens. Their real selves begin to surface. Without his guidance, they reveal whether their kindness was genuine or strategic, whether their loyalty was rooted in respect or convenience, whether their confidence was authentic or borrowed from the reactions of others. In the quiet space he creates, the masks people wear start to loosen. They fidget. They over-explain. They contradict themselves. They seek validation elsewhere. Or, if they are truly aligned with him, they simply stay consistent. A Sigma watches all of this without interruption, understanding that silence draws out honesty far more effectively than confrontation ever could. He doesn't challenge people directly, he challenges them by not reacting. When he stays still, people show exactly where they stand. Some grow uncomfortable because they relied on his energy to feel secure. Others start revealing their ambitions, insecurities, jealousy, or entitlement without realizing it. And the ones who value him? They remain steady, unbothered, because their intentions were never dependent on his attention. This is why a Sigma rarely speaks first or rushes to fill silence. He knows that the moment he steps back, the true dynamics of the relationship rise to the surface. People who need control start grasping for it. People who need affirmation begin showing desperation. People who need power attempt to assert it. And all he has to do is watch. In a world loud with performance, silence is his filter. It separates the sincere from the strategic, the loyal from the opportunistic, the grounded from the unstable. He understands that when he guides a conversation, people can hide behind practiced words. When he challenges them, they can defend themselves. But when he offers nothing, no cues, no direction, no emotional response, he forces them to reveal who they have been all along. This quiet observation gives him a kind of vision others lack. He sees the hidden intentions, the contradictions, the subtle tells that only appear when someone no longer feels observed. And because of this, he moves through life with clarity, choosing who deserves access and who doesn't, without ever needing to raise his voice, make accusations, or demand proof. His silence shows him everything. He observes patterns over promises. Behavior tells him more than words ever will. A Sigma male knows that anyone can craft beautiful explanations, apologies, or commitments, but patterns don't lie. Words are easy. Repetition is expensive. So instead of listening to what people claim they are, he watches who they consistently become.
He studies the small details others overlook, the tone that shifts when someone is no longer getting what they want, the hesitation that appears when loyalty requires inconvenience, the sudden enthusiasm that only surfaces when there's something to gain.
Promises mean nothing to him, because he has met far too many people who spoke like saints but behaved like strangers. So he waits. He observes. He lets time act as the great translator between intention and reality.
Over days, weeks, and months, the truth crystallizes.
People reveal their character through habits, through contradictions, through the energy they bring when no one is watching. And the Sigma, quiet and attentive, captures every piece.
He studies consistency like a language.
Someone says they care, but their actions evaporate the moment effort is required.
Someone claims loyalty, yet they disappear when the room shifts.
Someone swears honesty, but their stories adjust slightly every time they're retold. These are the fractures he pays attention to, not the dramatic moments, but the subtle ones. Anyone can behave beautifully when things are easy. He watches how they act when things are inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uncertain. That's where the real person emerges. And the Sigma trusts that version far more than any promise spoken in confidence or emotion. He has learned that patterns predict the future with brutal accuracy. If someone shows a habit of disrespect, it will return. If someone shows a habit of inconsistency, it will repeat. If someone shows a habit of integrity, it will prove itself again. This is why he rarely confronts or warns people. He doesn't need to. Their patterns already tell him the ending before the story even unfolds. By watching behavior, he protects himself from false loyalty and manipulative charm. He filters his world with precision, keeping those who act with intention and quietly distancing himself from those who only speak with it. While others get disappointed by broken promises, a Sigma is never surprised. He saw the pattern long before the truth was spoken. And in that awareness, he finds clarity, control, and the ability to choose who truly deserves a place in his life. He gives people enough space to show whether their loyalty is genuine or performative. A Sigma male understands a truth most people avoid. Loyalty cannot be measured when someone is close, comfortable, or constantly receiving attention. Real loyalty reveals itself only when distance enters the picture. So he steps back, not out of spite, not as a test in the manipulative sense, but as a necessary filter. Space is where intentions breathe without pressure, without performance, without the social glow that makes people act better than they are. And in that quiet gap, the Sigma watches closely. He sees who remains present without being prompted, who checks in without needing a reason, who shows consistency without applause. But he also sees who vanishes the moment the dynamic is no longer centered around them, who becomes restless when effort is required, who reveals that their loyalty was merely convenience dressed as commitment. He knows that when he removes his presence, the truth becomes unavoidable. Some people were loyal only to the benefits he brought, his stability, his guidance, his calm energy. When those benefits fade, their loyalty evaporates with it. Others were loyal to the attention they received. When he steps back, they feel unseen and quickly find someone else to orbit. Then there are the ones who were never loyal at all. They just played the role until the mask grew too heavy to maintain without constant reinforcement. The Sigma doesn't chase them, doesn't question them, doesn't demand explanations. Their silence already answered everything he needed to know. Distance turns pretenders into ghosts, and he allows that transformation to happen without interference. But the ones who stay, those are the ones he values deeply. Loyalty shown without being asked is the rarest form of truth in human relationships. When someone continues to show up, to check in, to care, even when the Sigma offers nothing in return, he recognizes it as something sacred. These people aren't loyal because of what he provides, but because of who he is. And that kind of loyalty cannot be faked, rushed, or replaced. By stepping back, he isn't trying to punish anyone. He is simply observing which connections breathe on their own and which suffocate the moment he stops feeding them. Space exposes intention. Silence exposes depth. And loyalty, in its purest form, reveals itself only when no one is watching. He knows that hidden motives always surface when he stops giving emotional reactions. A Sigma male understands that emotions are a currency many people try to use against him. Some seek validation, some seek control, some seek sympathy, and others seek leverage, and they all depend on his emotional engagement to maintain their influence. So he does something most people never think to do. He cuts the supply. He stops reacting. He stops reassuring. He stops feeding the dynamic with attention, fear, anger, or warmth. And when that emotional fuel is removed, hidden motives begin to rise to the surface like shadows revealed by a sudden light. People who once spoke softly begin demanding reassurance. Those who acted supportive become cold when no longer getting the responses they want. The manipulator's script falls apart without emotional cues to exploit. The jealous become obvious. The selfish become restless. The user becomes exposed. By offering nothing emotionally, he forces people to rely on their true intentions, and that is where their real character unfolds. He knows that emotional neutrality is the ultimate truth serum. People with pure motives remain calm, consistent, and steady, even when he is silent. They don't panic if he pulls back. They don't demand emotional currency, and they don't shift their behavior to regain control. But people with hidden agendas? They crumble. Their urgency increases. Their tone changes. They begin revealing the insecurities, expectations, and entitlement they tried to hide beneath kindness or charm. Without emotional reaction to manipulate, their strategies collapse. Their impatience exposes them. Their frustration betrays them. They show exactly what they wanted from him all along: attention, validation, power, or advantage. A Sigma watches this quietly, almost clinically, knowing that truth only emerges when emotional games fail. And this is why he rarely argues or explains himself. Explanation gives people insight into his emotional landscape. Argument gives them a map of his triggers. Reaction gives them a grip on his inner world. By withholding all of it, he becomes unreadable. And in that unreadability, others reveal themselves in ways they never intended. The more silent he becomes, the louder their motives grow. They reveal who they are through desperation, through inconsistency, through the cracks that appear when emotional manipulation no longer works. In the end, he never needs to confront or accuse anyone. Their own behavior becomes the confession. His calm detachment doesn't just protect him, it exposes everything he needs to know. He lets time reveal who respects boundaries and who only respects access. A Sigma male understands that almost everyone behaves well in the beginning. In the early stages of any connection, people are polite, attentive, patient, and respectful because the dynamic is fresh and they want to be perceived a certain way. But time-steady, unbending, and brutally honest removes the performance. So instead of testing people directly, he simply lets the clock run. He introduces small boundaries, subtle moments of distance, quiet pauses in communication, and periods where he doesn't offer immediate access. And in those moments, he observes. Time exposes everything. Those who respect him adapt naturally, honoring his need for space without becoming anxious or resentful. They understand that connection does not require constant contact. They step back without disappearing, and they lean in without demanding. But those who only valued his accessibility begin to show their true colors the moment his energy is no longer freely available. He sees the shift instantly. Someone who once acted patient becomes irritated when he doesn't reply fast enough. Someone who seemed supportive becomes distant when he stops giving emotional reassurance. Someone who claimed loyalty becomes cold once access is no longer convenient. Time doesn't change people, it reveals them. And the Sigma trusts this revelation more than any promise or declaration of loyalty. He knows that access is what most people crave, not respect. They value the benefit of having him nearby, not the discipline of honoring his boundaries. So he pays close attention to how they behave when he says, "not now," when he needs space, when he chooses solitude over social obligation. People who respect boundaries stay grounded. People who only respected access start trying to pull him back into their orbit. The Sigma never rushes these revelations. He doesn't force anyone into exposure. He simply stops making himself constantly available and lets their true intentions unfold at their natural pace. Over time, entitlement becomes obvious, manipulation becomes visible, dependency becomes undeniable, and genuine respect becomes unmistakable.
What remains after the performance fades is the truth, and the Sigma uses that truth to decide who stays and who quietly loses their place in his life.
He doesn't confront, doesn't warn, doesn't negotiate. He lets time do the kind. Boundaries show him who values the connection. Time shows him who deserves it. He watches how people treat him when they think he isn't paying attention. A Sigma male understands that the truest version of a person never appears when they know they're being observed. Masks tighten, voices soften, behaviors improve. Everyone performs when the spotlight is on them. So he pays attention to the moments when the spotlight fades, when people assume his mind is elsewhere, when he goes quiet in a group, when he sits back and lets the conversation move without his involvement. In those moments, people reveal their unfiltered selves. He notices the subtle shifts, the tone someone uses when they think he isn't listening, the impatience in their voice when they speak about him indirectly, the dismissive glance when they believe his attention is elsewhere. A Sigma reads these micro moments like a map. They expose who respects him genuinely and who respects him only when it benefits their image. They show him who speaks with integrity and who changes their behavior based on audience and opportunity. He knows that loyalty, kindness, and character are most visible in the quiet spaces, the unguarded seconds where performance drops and instinct takes over. He watches how someone treats him when there's nothing to gain, how they speak about him when they think he won't hear it, how they respond to his boundaries when they assume he won't notice the small violations. And he pays attention to the way people act around him when they don't feel observed, whether they soften, tense, imitate, compete, or reveal a touch of envy they tried to hide. While others rely on direct questions or confrontations to uncover truth, the Sigma relies on stillness. He lets people forget they are being evaluated. He lets their habits expose them. And habits never lie. This quiet observation becomes his most powerful filter. It shows him who treats him with respect because they truly value him, not because they want approval or access. It exposes the opportunists who become distant once the spotlight isn't on them. It reveals who holds subtle resentment, who harbors insecurity, who sees him as a threat, and who sees him as an equal. He doesn't need arguments, accusations, or tests. He doesn't need emotional displays or forced honesty. People show him everything he needs to know simply by existing in the space he creates. And when someone reveals their true nature, whether admirable or disappointing, he believes them the first time. His silence isn't passive. It is the environment where truth finally speaks. He understands that truth unfolds naturally. He never needs to force it or chase it. A Sigma male lives by a principle most people overlook. Truth is not something you extract from others. It is something you witness when you allow life to run its course. He has no interest in pushing people to confess their intentions, no desire to interrogate motives, no need to chase clarity. Instead, he lets time, silence, and consistency reveal what words try to hide. He knows that when you pressure someone for honesty, you often receive a sanitized version of the truth, a performance built to satisfy the moment. But when you step back, when you give people space to be themselves without expectation, the truth arrives unfiltered. It shows up in small behaviors, in habits, in inconsistencies, in the energy behind their actions. The Sigma trusts this natural revelation because it cannot be manipulated. What unfolds on its own is always real.
He moves through life with a calm certainty, understanding that people eventually reveal their priorities, loyalties, insecurities, and intentions, not through dramatic moments, but through the quiet repetition of their choices.
He never hunts for answers because he knows the answers are already forming in the background, waiting for the right moment to surface. A lie can be rehearsed, but patterns cannot. Motives can be disguised, but reactions cannot. Desires can be hidden, but behavior cannot. So he watches, he listens, and he gives time the room it needs to expose what is genuine and what is an act. He isn't impatient, because impatience clouds judgment. He isn't controlling, because control distorts truth. Instead, he trusts that the universe always delivers clarity, sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always accurately. And this approach gives him a level of emotional freedom others envy. He doesn't waste energy chasing explanations or confronting every inconsistency. He doesn't bind himself to the exhausting cycle of demanding honesty from people who aren't equipped to give it. He simply observes and adjusts. When truth emerges, he accepts it without drama. When someone shows him who they are, he believes them without argument. His decisions become clean, his boundaries become clear, and his relationships become intentional. He moves away from what feels false and toward what feels aligned. In the end, his life becomes a reflection of what patience uncovers: authenticity, peace, and a circle of people who require no chasing, no forcing, and no unraveling, because their truth revealed itself naturally. When a Sigma male steps back and lets truth reveal itself, he isn't being distant, he's being precise. His silence isn't withdrawal, it's clarity. By allowing people to expose themselves through patterns, motives, and behavior, he builds a life rooted in authenticity rather than illusions. And the more he filters his world through observation instead of reaction, the stronger, calmer, and more untouchable he becomes. This is why his circle is small, his focus is sharp, and his peace remains unshaken. He doesn't lose people, he simply learns who was never meant to stay. If this breakdown made you reflect on your own patterns or the people around you, share your thoughts. What truth did you discover when you stopped forcing connections? Comment the word clarity if you related to this. And for more insights like this, make sure you subscribe to Silent Wise, where the quietest minds speak the loudest truths.